Nice to have you with us today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Wow, your story is fascinating. I've been giving your background a little bit here while we're getting connected with you. Tell me what, as a young man, what drew you to the PLO?
Well, it starts with writing graffiti on the wall. You think it's cool. And then it always continues to, of course, going to the local school in which you are taught that you are more special than the other side. It's not really just the issue of land or the issue of occupation, as many in the media say. You know, the Israeli occupation of Palestine, so on and so forth. That's not the issue. The issue is the indoctrination you get in the mosque. When you go to the mosque, then you are taught all kinds of things, that the Muslim is superior. So this continues on, you riot, and you end up in prison. And in prison, I got recruited to plant a bomb, which I did, exploded, and, you know, it continued on. I came to the States and was involved in the Muslim Brotherhood, wanted something more puritanical than the PLO. And then later on, of course, I got married and challenged my wife to become Muslim. And she said to me, well, show me the problems in the Bible. I will be glad to become Muslim. I bought a Bible to show the problems in the Bible, and the rest was history.
So when did you convert?
1993.
Tell us about that experience.
Well, I remember I had an argument with my wife, and I was downstairs. I guess in the United States, it's the guy that hits the couch. So I turned on the TV, and there was a Christian program called This Week in Bible Prophecy. And the guy gave the gospel message. I had been researching the Bible for a year, and at that point, I began to realize that nothing has worked out for me. Mm-hmm. And so that my life's in shambles. I've never gotten anywhere, and it's a mess. And my marriage is shaky. And so I knew that that Christianity was the truth. I knew the Bible was the truth. I was challenged with many verses in the Bible. You know, it talks about my enemy, Israel, how God will always be looking after them, how he will allow them to be in that land. So, Amos chapter 9, verse 15, I will plant them in their land, and no longer shall they be pulled out of that land. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to uproot Israel. Is this a historical record? Is this talking about when? No, it can't be. It only happened. It's happening now. We cannot uproot Israel. We tried in 48. We tried in, 67, 73, Yom Kippur War. We failed miserably. Just one half of one verse in the Bible seems to be setting God's law, God's rule, God's commandment, God's edict, and nothing can shake it. And so I knew this had to be the truth. And so I said, Jesus, come in. That's all I remember I said. And that was it. I had joy, made up with my wife that day. And she told me a month later, you're not my husband. What happened to my husband? So I asked her, I said, do you want the old husband back? She says, no, I like the new one a lot better. Thank you very much.
Wow. Your experience can certainly help us get a handle. I think we here in the West, Walid, have a hard time understanding an ideology, a philosophy, a religion that wants to kill innocent people. We have a hard time getting our head around that, to the point where it's created a hypocritical conflict in this country, because we preach tolerance, but it seems now it's reversed on Christianity. Help us get our head on why the Islamic faith is so set on dominating the world and killing to get there.
Well, number one, the Islamic theology sets the world into two spheres, Dar al-Islam or Dar al-Harb, the house of Islam or the house of war. That's it. It's two, the sphere, it's two spheres, period. It's continually going to continue on to creating more spheres of Islam by either proselytization or invasion. The evidence to this is that Islam never stopped. It continued. Muhammad even said, first Constantinople, then Rome. Most American Christians don't even know Islam has a set of eschatology that is the antithesis of the eschatology that's written in the Bible. So first Constantinople, then Rome, excuse me. Constantinople has been occupied by Islam, by the Ottomans, 1451, Muhammad II. So the rest of the prophecy is that Rome, the West, has to be conquered. So this is why we see tremendous expansion of Muslims in the West. And Islam had a head wound, basically. It was wounded in 1924 when the Ottoman Empire collapsed. And then they appointed Kemal Atatürk, who brought in, who westernized Turkey, and the Islamic world began to become westernized. And now we see the residues of that westernization dissipating all over the Middle East. It's going back to the way it was pre that wound that the Islamic world got. And it becomes obvious what you see on TV, you know, the deception that this is an Arab Spring, which is an Islamic revolution. So the evidence is very clear to what's happening. It proves that the intent of Islam is to occupy the world. Muhammad says, "Umirtu an uqatil an-nasa hatta yaqulu la ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah." English, I have been ordered to fight all people until they say, there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. So there is only two choices. You fight back, or you say, there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. Well, somebody might say, it's just a statement, big deal. But that statement basically really converts the person to Islam, and you know that person has no salvation as from a Christian view. Christians died by the millions in the past for refusing to say that statement. The greatest massacres of Christians in history did not happen by the Romans. It was carried out by the Muslims. You had the massacres in Smyrna, even of recent origin, in the 1900s. Smyrna was massacred completely, even the women beheaded. Yeah, I can show you old pictures, black and white, of baskets galore with heads. The Western ships were, you know, embarked there in Smyrna. Couldn't get out of the dock because the heads in the water, you know, clogged the propeller. And they did nothing because at that time there was a delicate peace process going on between the West and the Ottoman Empire. And it sheds light to really how things go on today, you know, a delicate peace process. You have the Armenian Genocide. You ask today the Turks, you know, isn't it time to confess the Armenian Genocide? If you say that in Turkey, you go to jail. Yet you can go to Germany and you can ask a German, have you confessed the Holocaust? They would say yes. If you deny the Holocaust in Germany, you go to jail. If you talk about the Armenian Genocide in Turkey today, you go to jail. So what's the difference? The difference is that there is no element of repentance. That's the bottom line.
You know what's so interesting about this? Let's fast forward this a little bit, Walid. Let's get up to, can we trust Muslims in a country to come alongside our security and protect our embassies and consulates when deep down inside they subscribe to the religion that would weaken their ability to really protect us? So maybe we're just in a no-win situation by having embassies in these countries.
Right. I mean, there's no reason to try to convince Westerners that hiring Muslims in the military or working with them and strengthening their armed forces and all these things, if a Muslim really is convicted with Sharia, okay, is like akin to saying, you know, maybe we should hire Nazis during Second World War to watch over the Jews. You know, how does that make any sense? You know, it's a cobra, it's not a fish. and the fish keeps wanting to convert the cobra to a fish. Anyone who believes in Sharia is an enemy, period. Sharia demands Muslims to fight non-Muslims. Sharia, even in civil aspects of Sharia, a woman inherits half the man if the parents die. A woman's testimony in court of law is half the testimony of a man. And this is from the civilized perspective. I mean, you go to any civilized Muslim and tell them, you know, what about inheritance? What about this and that? And you will find out it really conflicts with everything you've been taught as a Westerner. So what about jihad warfare? You know, why would we want to be training the jihadists to protect us? How does that make any sense? So, you know, America's still struggling, you know, because the moment I begin to say these things, oh, you're anti-Muslim, or you're Islamophobe, or you're, you know, all kinds of things. You're bigoted, you're anti-religion, but we're not talking about a Muslim who simply wants to bow down towards Mecca and pray 5 times a day. We're talking about proponents of Sharia. And that's what we have to distinguish. So instead of saying Muslim, this, that, we should be saying the proponents of Sharia. These people are a different breed than the rest of the world. They want to invoke Islam by force.
Can a democracy ever really understand a theocracy?
Well, I mean, it's a great question. Can a democracy understand a theocracy? Yes, a democracy can understand some things about religion, not full theocratical system.
Right.
However, you know, the kingdom of Christ is going to be a theocracy. So it's not an issue of theocracy that's the problem. It's an issue of Sharia. What kind of theocracy is it? There's been many Christian theocracies in the past. So it's not an issue of theocracy to me. It's an issue of saying that we want to help the Muslim world and convert the Muslim world to become democratic. It's like saying, you know, while we were fighting with the communists, that we were saying we want to have capitalistic communism. Let's convert Russia to become capitalistic communism. You know, there is no such thing. It's an oxymoron. So to say Islamic democracy, it's a theocracy. It can't be a democracy, number one. And it's not just any theocracy. It's a theocracy with a sword, with the edge of the blade. It says that every way of your life, everything, how you eat, how you sleep, how you wash, how you bathe, how you know, dress, your beard, your mustache, how it looks, everything is Islam. So it's a complete control, and it does it in unison, in which it's a collective mentality. One Muslim leader leads all, and he kind of controls the masses.
All right, so we've heard of the majority of the Muslims are loving and peaceful and don't really want what the radical part of Islamic belief want. But at the end of the day, they're not doing anything about putting the radicals down. So it's
a misdefinition to say the moderates versus the radicals. It's not moderates versus radicals. What it is nationalists, okay, versus the radical universalists. There are people who say we're Muslim, but they're nationalists. They don't believe in Sharia. They're not really Muslim. They have on their birth certificate that says Muslim, okay? So maybe they could pray every once in a while, maybe, but they're not religious Muslims. They are nationalists. Okay. They love Egypt to be Egypt. They love Syria to be Syria. We shouldn't be lumping the way we do things the way we do. They're not. It's not radicals versus moderates. It's universalists versus nationalists. That's what it is. The Muslims in Syria who wants Bashar Assad and don't want the other guys are nationalists. They don't want the full Islamic takeover of the world because they know the end result. They are really anti-Islamism.
Well, why isn't there a greater pushback then?
Well, usually the moderates, like you say, the moderates don't count. What moderate counted in Germany during Nazi Germany? The radicals is what counts. Right. Moderates want to mind his own business. Moderate, he just wants to go to work. He's moderate. He just wants to go to work, wants to live. He is absolutely useless to the fight that we're fighting.
Interesting. We're hearing reports, Walid, that there are some miraculous conversions going on in some of these Muslim countries to Christianity. Can you confirm that?
Yes, in fact, there is a clip on Al Jazeera, the highest expert in Al Jazeera television, said he's Muslim. He says, we lost Africa to the West, to the Christians. Africa used to be 2/3 Muslim. Today it's 2/3 Christian, and no one's focused on it. So the conversion rate is immense, especially in Morocco, North Africa, Muslim countries, Tunisia, Libya, Iran, very high rate of conversion to Christianity. So in reality, the Christians are winning, It's not, Islam is not the fastest growing religion. That is a myth.
Right.
It's the fastest growing religion through biological evangelism, if you will. So it's biological. And when it comes to spiritual, the Christians are winning the arena and fulfilling basically what the Bible, that the gospel will go to the end of the earth, before Christ comes.
All right, tell us about your book. We're kind of hitting on bits and pieces of it, but your book is, For God or For Tyranny.
Yeah, I have two books, God's War and Terror, Islam, Prophecy, and the Bible, and For God or For Tyranny. It's the two A-must books. The first one really sets the record straight about eschatology and the West, and how the West are missing the major focus of the Bible and thrust of the Bible when it comes to the issue of eschatology. When was the last time you had a Sunday school teacher talk about Isaiah 19? Let's say Isaiah 19, just one example out of thousands in the book.
Okay.
Isaiah 19 says the Lord comes riding in a swift cloud and is coming into Egypt. The Lord, Christ, is coming into Egypt to fight. When was the last time you had a Sunday school in America say, well, today we'll be discussing how the Lord Jesus Christ in Isaiah 19 is going to come fight the Muslims in in Egypt? It doesn't happen.
Wow.
Yet it is a war with Islam that Christ even has in several places in the Bible. The misconceptions of understanding the Bible is immense in the West. For God or For Tyranny is the works mostly of my son Theodore, and it shows that when when people abandon God, how the government becomes God. And this is what's happening today. We are abandoning God, so the government becomes God. And it shows throughout the history how every single civilization was a tyrannical civilization until the advent of Christianity. Proves the point beyond shadow of a doubt. And it goes all the way from, you name the civilization. So it's an A-must for the youth, especially who goes to university and seems to think that the professor knows everything.
So, would you say that we have a Islamic sympathetic administration right now in the United States?
Well, the liberals sympathize with the Muslims and the Muslims sympathize with the liberals? No. The liberals sympathize with Islam is because there's many points of agreement. Okay, you look at Al Gore. He uses Islam and the Quran, by the way. You can see his writings. The Quran believes in the Big Bang. Most Christians think Islam is conservative. False. It's liberal. They believe in the Big Bang. Life doesn't begin at the moment of conception in Islam. Islam talks about environmentalism, socialism, all of it. Why do you think in every pro-Palestine demonstration, you see Muslims, homosexuals, lesbians, liberals, socialists, anarchists hold hand to demonstrate against Israelis? Think about it. You don't find fundamentalist Christians doing this. So we need to understand that Christianity, the Judeo-Christian ethics, is very unique. It's the same uniqueness of Israel. This is why the United States is very unique, and this is why it's so much attacked, because it is unique. And that uniqueness is dissipating by the day. So it's the problem in the church. The church has been lazy to think that as Christians we shouldn't be involved politically. That's not true.
Wow, Walid, I am just fascinated by you. Can we get you back?
Yeah, sure.
And we'll cover more in your book. Thank you for letting us interrupt your day and have a few moments. You're fascinating to talk to and much to learn from. I'd like to get more into this eschatology issue because I think you're bringing out something that has really fallen through the cracks of what is considered modern eschatology today. It's just flat out wrong, and we need to take a second look at it. So thank you so much for being with us. We'll get you back real soon, okay?
Blessings to you. Thank you.